There is, of course, the school of thought that cheaper prices, particularly when it comes to energy transition-related products, is only a good thing. And it sounds like Beijing is sort of in that camp.
That was certainly the case that Xi Jinping made to Scholz yesterday in Beijing. He really came out quite strongly defending China's industrial policy. He presented the success they've had in manufacturing cheap goods in the green sector as a force for good in reducing climate threats, and also sort of bringing down inflationary pressures, which has been a big challenge for policymakers in the EU and in the US, which are the two now biggest critics of its industrial policy. So this was really the first time we heard Xi Jinping sort of directly kind of responding to this barrage of criticism that his country has been facing in recent months.
Jenni, of course, what else has come up in this visit has been Russia's war in Ukraine. Did we get any sense that Xi is going to be perhaps putting any sort of pressure on Moscow here after this visit?
I think China's position on Russia's war in Ukraine has been consistent all along. In terms of the peace conference that countries are trying to sort of rally China to engage with, they've repeated again this week, their position is they will engage with the conference where all parties are engaged, i.e. that means that Russia would have to be at the table as well. But it is interesting, if you look at some of the export data, China's exports from Russia dipped in March for the first time since mid-2022. And this sort of comes after a lot of pressure on China to not support Russia's war machine through its companies and supplying materials. Yellen warned again during her trip earlier this week that if Chinese banks were seen to be supporting Russia's war machine in any way, they could face sanctions. So while sort of diplomatically, I think, Xi Jinping's stance hasn't changed and is unlikely to under pressure from the US, at least. In the sort of the trade relationship, we are perhaps seeing some type of at least sort of moderation in how much China wants to be seen as propping up Russia's economy.
That moderation is interesting, right? Because we know that these engagements by Europe, by Germany, by the US comes at a time of vulnerability for China's economy. Is there a sense that there's more willingness to compromise from Beijing?
I think there's a heightened sense that China needs foreign investors right now. So both Yellen and Scholz have come with this very sort of coordinated message, it seems, that their companies don't feel fairly treated in China. And that's something I think the Chinese take very seriously because they're trying to get their economy back on its feet this year. They need foreign investors. They need companies from these big economies to want to invest in China. So I think, while they're not going to probably adjust major policies, they're really trying to put forward this very accommodative sort of message that, foreign companies are welcome here and they're more open. And so that means, the CDF, this big sort of investment forum in China recently, leaders were really kind of sending that message, and Xi Jinping himself came out to meet CEOs. There's certainly more willingness in that sense to present a better message to the private sectors abroad.